Tonight on CFTK-TV, Lamb's band objects the KitsisKitum and KitsisKitum Treaty initialing, a widespread heat wave is set to hit BC, and the WestJet flight cancellations are creating more issues for passengers.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Damian Smith and you're watching CFTK-TV. Prince Rupert RCMP are seeking the public's assistance in locating two separate cases of missing women. 32-year-old Charla Trimble was last seen on June 28th at approximately 9 p.m. near Chance's Casino. Charla is described as an Indigenous female, 5'2", 125 pounds, long brown hair and brown eyes. Her friends are concerned for her well-being and have not been able to contact her since that night. In addition, Prince Rupert RCMP are seeking the public's help in finding 17-year-old London Franco. London was last seen on July 2nd at approximately 3 p.m. She has been in contact with friends, but not since 8:45 p.m. London is described as a Caucasian female who is 5'2" and 102 pounds. She has long brown hair, brown eyes, wears glasses, and was last seen wearing a pink hoodie, gray pants, and a backpack. If anyone has information on London's or Charla's whereabouts, please contact the Prince Rupert RCMP at 250-624-2136. The NDP have now chosen their candidate for the North Coast riding. Tamara Davidson is described as a longtime public servant and elected member of the Council of the Haida Nation. Davidson has a background in land management, strategic planning, conservation, and tourism. She writes that her platform will address critical North Coast issues, including affordability, healthcare, access, economic development, and infrastructure improvements. Her NDP predecessor, North Coast MLA Jennifer Rice, will be stepping down after 3 terms in office. More clarity has been gathered on why the Lamb's band objects the KitsisKitum and KitsisKitum Treaty initialing. CFTK's Jaylene Matthews has more.
Just days before the KitsisKitum and KitsisKitum bands initialed treaty agreements, the Lamb's band released a statement in opposition of the treaty initialing. They stated a lack of consideration of territorial boundaries and a lack of consultation.
We had all our elders, our hereditary leaders, all from the 7 communities, all involved when they drew those maps on the boundaries. And that was put out to Canada, the province, and the BC Treaty Commission, and was accepted. We had no problems with any other First Nation that was claiming overlap in there. Everyone was okay with those maps that went out. And today we still have those maps. That's what we go by. We haven't changed that, and we're sticking to that.
Following the initialing, representatives of Lamb's did meet with government ministers, along with the Gitakatla, Gitinyao, and Kitisou First Nations to discuss reconciliation efforts. Lamb's says they have collaborated with those other nations on shared reconciliation priorities, as each of them have dedicated years of work towards tripartite reconciliation discussions with Canada and BC. Lamb's, along with the 3 other bands, have been pushing a reconciliation agreement as opposed to a treaty. In treaty, along with other important differences, title is negotiated, whereas in a reconciliation agreement, it is title by agreement, which is recognized up front. In February 2023, Lamb's band says they committed to entering the Uxbasque reconciliation agreement with the governments. However, they say the process has since stalled despite the band reaching out to Minister Ananda Sangari, the Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations.
We've been in reconciliation, negotiating with the province and the federal government, and we've completed phase 1 lands through that process, and we're about to go into the second phase of that, and then we get word that they're not going to be at the table until after the election, because the election is happening. So what is the difference with them signing off, initialing off the treaties with these 2 bands, and they tell us that? I find that quite disturbing when they tell us that, and they go ahead and do this with these other two First Nations.
Lac Willam's maintains that it appears the government has gone ahead with furthering and prioritizing modern treaties while reneging on their previous reconciliation commitments. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
Much like up here in northwest BC, Vancouver will also be experiencing a sudden burst of heat that will be arriving very shortly in the city. CTV's Craig Krause reports on how the city will be preparing for such.
Well, the temperatures this morning near the water here in Vancouver remain a little bit chilly, but things are going to change, especially here in Vancouver and across the province later on today. Whether you're in the Kootenays or the Okanagan, the island, or up north, temperatures are going to significantly rise over the coming days. And Environment Canada is forecasting temperatures in most parts of the province will climb into the 30s over the coming days. The interior, though, reaching possibly 40 degrees next week. The weather agency says this stretch of heat will likely be 10 degrees above seasonal averages. And just last year, the BC Coroner's Office reported 11 heat-related deaths, the vast majority being above the age of 60. Officials are calling on the public to check on friends and family members, especially those who are elderly and living alone. And a few tips that's being thrown around at this time is just staying hydrated and never leaving children or pets in parked cars. And the City of Surrey is rolling out a guide, an emergency guide to help seniors and older adults navigate these warm and possibly extreme temperatures. This includes safety tips along with resources in the case of an emergency. These can be picked up at City Hall. A physical copy can be picked up at City Hall or local rec centers and libraries, and the app can be downloaded on the City of Surrey's website. Craig Krause, CTV News, Vancouver.
Coming up next, WestJet flight cancellations continue, creating serious problems for passengers. More stories are coming out after WestJet's workers' strike against the company. This has left many passengers scrambling for different ways to get home, including very important medical reasons. Sean Varden from CTV reports.
Chris Frizzell just turned 40 and booked a Vegas vacation with his wife and friends to celebrate. After thinking they were in the clear with WestJet and its airplane engineers ordered to arbitration, a surprise strike grounded them.
On Saturday, we went to an event in Las Vegas, and we're standing there, and I check my phone. I got an email on my phone, and we find out that our flight's been canceled. The strike has started, and that we'd be finding out in a short while when we'd be flying out.
Frizzell spent the next 2 days on the phone, spending hours on hold with WestJet. The first rebooking to fly on Canada Day was cancelled. The next date, July 3rd, almost 48 hours later. Needing to be home for a CT scan and to look after their 3-year-old son, they found a flight themselves on United Airlines.
To get home to our family, needed to get home to work. We ended up booking a flight from Las Vegas to Toronto, which left yesterday at around 1:30 and got in around midnight, and it was $4,100 for the two of us to fly out.
The return flight they found was cheaper than the ones WestJet was offering, so they figured the airline would cover the costs.
The thing that they've offered is the return portion of our flights that we flew down with, which our whole package, including a hotel, was $2,000. So that'll be what, $600 for the two of us,
After an overnight drive from Toronto to Smiths Falls, they made it back early Tuesday morning, just in time for his CT scan. He hopes WestJet will do the right thing.
Sometimes you just have to do what's right.
Yeah.
And doing what's right is taking care of your people, the people that have given you their money.
Sean Varden, CTV News.
In St. Thomas, Ontario, a deadly fire broke out in a residential neighborhood, resulting in an unsettling death. From Southern Ontario, CTV's Sean Irvin has more of the story.
Flames shoot from the roof of a multi-unit, century-old structure in St. Thomas. Multiple tenants reported hearing people shout fire around 12:20 a.m. At the same moment, some heard a loud bang.
Making something in the microwave, and I heard a popping sound, and I thought it was just the sound came from my microwave, but it must have been the shot that I've heard about.
Eric Kokel also heard what he thought was a gunshot. On Wednesday morning, the senior was busy moving his belongings out of the fire-damaged building.
I heard some woman running around the apartment saying that it was on fire to get out. So naturally, got dressed, got out. And but in the meantime, I hear bang.
Multiple witnesses said a woman who lived in the heavily damaged corner unit fled the scene about the same time a shot was heard. For much of the day, police said little about the investigation. But by mid-afternoon, they confirmed they were conducting a homicide investigation into the death of a woman. They also confirmed the fire, being treated as an arson, did not cause her death. Multiple witnesses say the woman made it across the street from her apartment unit to the parking lot. That's where she was found by emergency personnel. Several hours later, at the same spot, a police marker and what appeared to be a blood-soaked rag remained. St. Thomas firefighters were among those who initially attended to the woman.
Once crews arrived on scene, they did find an injured woman and were able to put the fire out. It seemed to be mostly contained to the exterior of the building. It got a little bit into the roof, but they were able to get that out as well.
St. Thomas police guarded a wide area around the fire scene and the parking lot on the northwest corner for most of the day. The sight brought sorrow to Colleen Sweeney, who told CTV News London she'd met the deceased person several times.
The last time I saw her was probably last Friday, and our dogs greeted each other, and it's very unsettling.
In St. Thomas, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Now on to tonight's weather, starting off with the north coast. After a chilly day of 14 degrees, it will dip to single digits tonight at 9 degrees. There will be increasing cloudiness overnight as well. Onto the Terrace and Kitimat area, it will be partially cloudy with a low of 11 degrees. 20-kilometer winds will also be arriving this evening. And now onto the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, there will be a few clouds and low of 5 degrees before the warm weather starts tomorrow. On the north coast tomorrow and beyond, we'll see a steady increase of 1 degree by day with mainly sunny conditions, followed by clouds, rain, and a drop of temperature once next week rolls around. In the Terrace Kitimat area, after tomorrow morning, the skies should clear up quite a bit, which will create an extremely sunny week. A high of 33 degrees will be on Monday, right after 32 degrees on Sunday night. In the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's the same sort of deal, but with minimal temperature differences. A high of 32 will be on Sunday, followed by a mix of sun and cloud once next week kicks off. Checking highways now. On Highway 16, there is utility work, road maintenance work, construction work, some traffic control and guardrail cleaning. Highway 37 has some frost heaves, mowing, and more maintenance. And the Nishka Highway is dealing with some road maintenance, including some guardrail cleaning. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, travel insurance continues to be unclear for Canadians, creating expensive hospital bills. A man traveling with his wife to Florida had a sudden medical emergency at the Orlando airport. However, problems arose when it came to travel insurance once the hospital bill came around. Pat Foran from CTV News has more.
I was in shock. I cried.
73-year-old Richard Bishop of Tecumseh near Windsor is happy to be alive after suffering a cardiac arrest while visiting Florida. In March of this year, he was at the Orlando airport waiting to fly home when he collapsed. It took 14 minutes of CPR to revive him.
I had 10 broken ribs and that I'm recovering. I'm moving now and I'm good.
The Bishops have group travel insurance and checked to make sure they had coverage before they left Canada. When Richard was hospitalized, he needed a defibrillator, and as far as they were concerned, all the bills were covered.
I provided them with the phone numbers to our doctors, his doctors, cardiologist,
The total hospital bill came to $620,000, and that's when the bishops found out they were not covered due to Richard having pre-existing conditions related to his heart.
Cardiologist said that husband wasn't stable to travel.
The family said if they would have known sooner the hospital bill would not have been paid, they would have taken an emergency flight home to have Richard's health addressed in Canada.
After you get a $80,000 American defibrillator, they say, oh, we're not paying.
A Green Shield spokesperson said due to privacy concerns, they couldn't get into specific details, but did say, we can confirm all claim decisions involve multiple levels of review with both internal claim examiners and external medical experts.
If you do not declare all your conditions, you are subject to having the claim denied.
Martin Firestone says a change in medication, a doctor's visit, or pending medical tests are all enough to void an insurance claim.
Just to think you have travel insurance, it's just not enough in this time. You have to be careful to understand what you really do, in fact, have.
The bishops say they aren't sure how they'll pay the huge hospital bill.
I feel terrible that we had no assistance being flat on my back in the hospital.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
While many people head to the golf course to relax and unwind, perhaps to blow off some steam, however, an unexpected golf course fight broke out in Burnaby this weekend. Abigail Turner from CTV has more of the details.
A birdie that turned into a brawl. Video of a shocking fight shared on social media at the Riverway Golf Course where punches were thrown.
Oh, holy smokes! What the heck is going on?
Burnaby RCMP say they were called here Saturday morning after a group was found breaching golf etiquette.
That is shocking. I think those guys should be banned for a year from golfing.
Police say one group nearly hit players with their balls several times. Then the situation turned violent.
If you do that once during a round of golf, you should probably be very judicious from that point afterwards. Like, if you hit into a group once is enough.
One woman was pushed to the ground and suffered minor injuries. Paramedics were called to the scene, but no one was taken to hospital.
There's no need for violence at any time, for any reason.
The video shows about 5 people involved in the brawl. Riverway Golf Course did not respond to interview requests.
Maybe their 4 wasn't quite loud enough when they hit one towards the other group. But yeah, to see that many people involved in a physical altercation and women there as well. Yeah, quite alarming.
RCMP say they managed to separate both groups and escort them off of this golf course. They say no arrests have been made, but that it's too early in the investigation to determine if any charges will be laid. Abigail Turner, CTV News, Burnaby.
Now we turn our attention to the stock market. The Canadian dollar is up 32/10 cents. The price of gold is up $36. The price of oil is up 7 cents. Natural gas is down 2 cents, and aluminum is up $7. In Toronto, the TSX is up 269.87. The Venture Index is up 9.51. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 23.85. And finally, NASDAQ is up 159.54. Still ahead, Hurricane Beryl is picking up in the Caribbean, and visitors are feeling the ramifications. Now on to Hurricane Beryl, which is heavily underway in Jamaica at the moment. ABC reporter Faith Abube is down in Jamaica right now and is on the scene to report life-threatening winds and an 8-foot storm surge to hit the island.
And this is a historic storm, and everyone here is on a heightened state of alert. But to give you some perspective, we're in the northern part of the country, so we're still a few hours away from the hurricane actually passing by here or making landfall anywhere close to here. But already we're seeing conditions deteriorate. The winds are picking up. You can see here the waves are getting choppier and choppier. People are still going about their day because the rains haven't come in just yet. In fact, just on this beach, we found an American family just enjoying the beach before the storm comes in. We have Rosalie, we have Luis, Valentina, and Diego with us. Guys, you guys arrived here from Las Vegas yesterday. Why did you decide to come even though there was a hurricane on the way?
Well, actually, good afternoon or good morning. I'm not sure what time is it. So we're from Las Vegas. It's pretty hot. So we're just from Puerto Rico. So we wanted to go to the beach and enjoy. We knew about the storm approximately on Sunday. We already paid for everything. We tried to call to cancel, but they say that we are not able to. So right now we just came to the beach to enjoy at least and have good memories, given that apparently we're not going to be able to do anything from today on. Hopefully on Friday, maybe tomorrow. But for now we need to stay inside. So 5 minutes to get some good memories, given that the hurricane messed up everything.
Yeah, I know the winds are picking up right now. You see the waves are getting choppier. Are you starting to get concerned?
Well, actually, at the moment that you came, we were just planning to go back. So we've been here just for 5 minutes. As we can see, we cannot go to the beach. We don't even have bathing suits, so just for memories.
Yeah, I heard you try to go to the grocery store, actually, to grab some supplies. What happened?
Well, they didn't have too many supplies there, so we grab whatever we can. Some soda, some sausage cans, some bread, some eggs. Chips. Just to survive, and some chips to survive, at least for a little bit, and to see what happened.
Yeah, well, I hope you guys stay safe. Go ahead and get back inside before conditions continue to deteriorate here. And guys, that is the story here. People are going about their day because the rains haven't come in yet. But, you know, we can feel that things are changing slowly. As for how long until we see the storm, it's still anybody's guess. But we're told that Brawl is on its way towards us right now.
2 Union soldiers from the American Civil War are being posthumously awarded with the Medal of Honor by President Joe Biden more than 160 years later. ABC's Christiane Cordero has more.
It was the mission that earned 6 men the first Medals of Honor more than 160 years ago. Their story inspired books and later TV shows and movies. In April 1862, the group known as Andrew's Raiders, 18 Union soldiers and 2 civilians, hijacked a Confederate train in Georgia called the General, deep in enemy territory. Their plan? Drive the General north and destroy the train tracks along the way, cutting off a vital Confederate supply line.
At that point, it could have shortened the war, and there could have been hundreds of thousands of young men that would have survived the war.
But the daring mission was unsuccessful. The men were forced to abandon the train. Some escaped, but others were captured and executed, including Philip Shadrach and George Wilson. The next year, 6 of the Raiders became the first men to receive the nation's highest military award.
Secretary of War Stanton decided, and President Lincoln, that these men should be honored with this newly minted medal, the Medal of Honor.
To date, 19 of the Raiders have received the medal, but today that number becomes 21, with President Biden set to bestow the award on Shadrach and Wilson.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from President Biden, and he invited me down to get the medal.
Descendants of the 2 men will be on hand today to honor their sacrifice.
You had to really love your country. I just wish everyone could have that feeling and understand what those men gave. We've got to put the past behind and just come forward and just be one country.
Chandler says Private Wilson's final words at the gallows should be remembered. The Union soldier said, "I have good feelings towards the people of the South. Our mission was so the flag could fly over one Union." Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Well, that's all our news for now. I'm Damian Smith, and you're watching CFTK-TV. Thanks for tuning in.